When I started the business, suddenly everyone was thinking that I was a wine connoisseur and I knew all the things in the whole world. And so whenever we go to a restaurant, it was always, all right, Greg, choose the wine. And I was in a similar position as you. I was like, okay, I know more than about wine than you guys, but I'm also starting on my journey. And so I guess over time, yeah, I think now I love to choose wines because it's my, I know more than I used to know 10 years ago.
Hi everybody and welcome to FEBE Founder Stories. Gregory, it is lovely to have you here from Crew Wine. How are you?
Very good, thanks. Lovely to be here.
Greggy, you are making me feel like I should have dressed better. You look rather wonderful.
Or maybe I'm overdressed. That depends how we look at it.
But anyway, with Founder Stories, we love to, really understand the journey behind the founders that basically made it into the FEBE Growth 100. And I guess that's a great point for me to start. So congratulations for making it into our Growth 100. Really proud to have you. And it looks like you've been on an exciting journey over the past few years since you started the business. So I guess what better place to start than the beginning? What led to you creating Crew Wine?
Thank you so much, John. First of all, we're very delighted to be part of the FEBE 100. It's an honor for us, of course. I know that some of it is founder-led and some of the story around FEBE, but as always, no company could be here without the whole team. So of course, as a whole team, we're very happy to be here. Or to have one that will be recognized among the FEBE 100. But how my story started was the question.
Take us back to the beginning. I mean, are you a connoisseur of the wine world?
Okay. Well, I guess I would start with how I got into wine.
Okay.
And how I got into wine personally is I was 16 years of age.
As so many of us are.
I wasn't allowed to drink. Maybe I was 18.
Some of us younger.
But, in any case, I was in my parents' house with my mother, and my father likes wine, so he collected wine, and he had a number of wine bottles, of course, in his wine cellar, let's say. So my mother and I, we went down there. We said, all right, we have to be careful not to take one of those expensive bottles. And so one of them, because we grew up in France, I knew what French words meant.
Whereabouts in France?
In the southeast, in the French Riviera, actually. It was very, very lovely. And one of them was called Chateau Mouton Rothschild, which Chateau Mouton means chateau sheep, from the animal sheep. So we thought, well, that must be a cheap one, Chateau Sheep, of course. I didn't know anything about wine, really. So we had that bottle of wine, and it was the most amazing bottle of wine we ever had. And so did my mother, and we were both blown away.
Why? Tell me why. What is it when... This is what I find fascinating about wine. When someone who has a gorgeous taste of that wine, they talk about it, and like they do what you just did then. They go to this place and go, oh, it's the most amazing. What is it about that taste that just you still can remember?
Yeah, it's just flawless. The experience in the mouth, and also the 4 or 5 seconds after tasting it is still there, and just the complexity and the mixture of taste and aromas that you feel. You just enjoy them, or not. Some people like certain wines than others. But I loved it. And I by that time, because my father likes wine, I had tried a few wines, let's say. Not too many, because I was young, of course.
Of course.
But I loved it, and so did my mom. And so that moment, my interest for wine started. I was like, wow, this product can be amazing. And so I was always very passionate about wine, let's say. Not overly passionate, but I was curious. So I tried a lot of wines when I was young, more than my friends, let's say. And then what happened is I went into... I studied, did my master's. I went into the corporate world as a strategy consultant, working many hours until very late in the evening, most days. And I liked it, but I was still in the back of my mind, I would think about wine. And one day, my co-founder, who's not a founder anymore of the business, but anyways, also was not part of the business anymore, but was my co-founder of the business. Yeah. He was in the world of wine, and he said he could buy wines at a very good price. Or have access to really rare bottles of wine. So I said, all right, let's build a business together, because I love wine and I'd love to do something in the world of wine. So I built a business, Crew Wine, with him, and we allowed private individuals to have access to wines at a very good price. And we offered a good service, and it kind of grew from there. But that's how it started.
Okay, you went from there to there very quickly. I mean, to start a business from scratch and to build it into a multi-million turnover business like you have, what is it that enabled you to start to really scale this up? I would imagine there are a lot of people, or a number of people, that start off but don't hit the kind of scale and size that you're achieving with this. What is it that's enabled you to really hit that growth button?
I think it's obviously making the right decisions. You have to be comfortable with risk, and not just taking it once or twice, but continuously taking it. and always putting it all back in the business, and not putting all of it on black or red every single time you make a decision. But you have to be comfortable with the idea that you have to be bold in your vision and your decisions to allow such growth to happen.
And what was your vision when you started then?
Well, when I started was, start a company and hopefully it survives 1 year, let alone even have one employee. I mean, in the beginning,
So
your vision isn't that far. Obviously, you have ideas, but it's so hard in the beginning that you can't have... I would never have thought I would be sitting here, of course, when I started the business 10 years ago, let's say. I mean, it would be unrealistic to assume that, it's a natural... development, but
so that's really interesting. You started it because you started therefore from a position of loving the wine, the product, the experience that it gives to people. You say it was about surviving. Having one employee would have blown your mind. So what is it, do you think, about what you were doing that started to create the wheels turning so quickly? What is it about Crew Wine that you were doing that was creating such great traction?
I think, our really true, let's say, winning story is to consistently being able to offer good service to our clients. And so I think it's that consistency, the fact that people are comfortable with our brand, they like what we do, they like what we were doing 8 years ago, 5 years ago, 3 years ago. The idea that we always think about the client and think in the client's interest. And I think that would be, we didn't invent something new, we were just doing it better than our competitors.
Really?
So, now, what we invented, perhaps, was to try to be a bit more efficient and therefore being able to perhaps consistently always offer wines at a good price, not having to compete, let's say, not having to sell them more expensive than our competitors and things like that. So I think that might be innovative in a certain way, that we definitely invest a lot in our systems and in technology to try to operate better than some of our competitors who've been around for 250 years, let's say. But
that's interesting. So giving some context there, you were up against businesses that had been established for not just decades, centuries.
Yeah.
So you really were the new kid on the block.
Yeah, and in the beginning, it's always like, the story of, well, what if I buy wine from you? What happens if you go bankrupt? It's always this idea that you're not going to survive a week or something. So, and they're like, well, I could also buy with the person I've been buying for 10 years or 20 years. Why would I buy from you? So it's very difficult, of course, but after a while you break through, you get some customers, as customers refer other customers, and then you start doing marketing and things like that. And before you know, you have 50 customers, 100 customers, 500 customers, and from there you grow.
Gregory, help me with this, because there's some great insight here. And I think this is, for me, the art of the hustle. When someone comes to you and they says, well, why would I buy from you when I could go and buy from that business that's been going for 250 years? How do you answer that? How is it that you look someone in the eye and say, this is why you got to buy my product?
Yeah, it's incredibly interesting. And it's the right question to ask when anyone in my industry, which is in distribution, the product is finished. So you cannot offer, I don't make the wine. I buy the wine, its finished state, and then I sell it. Or we buy it in its finished state and we sell it to our customers in its finished state. So we don't add too much to the product itself because the product is finished. You can compete, therefore, in two ways. You can compete on price, so selling the same product cheaper than the competition, or you can compete on experience. So the experience you have from buying from our company is better than the experience you have buying from another company if we sell at the same price. And we decided to make sure that we always sell at a fair, competitive price.
Okay.
And we try by being very efficient in the way we've built the business and everyone is being able to take decisions, that the experience of our final customer is better than our competitors. And that's what we'd like to say, and that's what we think so when we ask our clients. But that is the true way that we can differentiate ourselves, let's say. Okay,
so let's talk about ingredients here then. So we're looking at from a blend of fairness on price, and just an absolute killer experience in terms of what you deliver to your customers. So they go, wow, this is a great price, but the way that we've dealt with you is just we couldn't get a better service.
Yeah, so to pick some examples
simple,
out,
right?
Yeah, it's very simple, and then it's what is better about the experience? And so customer service, we absolutely offer better customer service. When we do surveys, it's always the same answer. The speed at which we answer, the information we provide, everything that in terms of the experience dealing with us is better. So I think that's definitely number one. And number two is the experience that our clients have online. So many of our competitors who we said are centuries old, they might not even have an online experience for their clients. In ours, they can go online, they can find information there, they can click there to get things delivered. And so everything is a bit easier. So the ease of transaction is also there. So I think those things, I like to think that those things help us, yeah.
Now, I want you to help me a little bit. So before we go back onto your story, I want you to help me a little bit. So do you know something? I'm not a massive wine drinker in the sense that because I don't drink too much, but I do love a glass of wine. But the thing that always embarrasses me when I'm in a restaurant is when someone brings the bottle and they say taste it, and I'm thinking, I don't really know what I'm tasting for, if I'm really honest with you. And I'm sure I'm not alone in that. I'm sure there are people that are thinking the same, because I'm not a connoisseur of wine. What is it about when you're tasting the wine? What are the things that I'm testing for? Does that make sense?
It makes absolute sense.
Because
I'll tell you.
This is what I thought was brilliant about seeing you. Because today I'm going to leave here going, right, next time they give me a test, I'm going to be right. I'm going to be ready for this.
No, it's a great question. So I'll two funny sort of quotes to that. One is 2/3 of the people in the world, when they buy wine, they buy it in the supermarket based on the etiquette. So the actual label they see on a bottle of wine is, for 2/3 of the people in the world, it's what makes a decision as to whether they should buy wine or not.
Really?
So it's nothing to do almost with the color of the wine or where the wine's from or vintage, etc. So, and the other thing is, when I started business, suddenly everyone was thinking that I was a wine connoisseur and I knew all the things in the whole world. And so whenever we go to a restaurant, it was always, all right, Greg, choose the wine. And I was in a similar position as you. I was like, okay, I know more than about wine than you guys, but I'm also starting on my journey. And so I guess over time, I think now I love to choose wines because it's I know more than I used to know 10 years ago. And the things to look out for is definitely region. So over time, you might find a region that you like more than another.
Yeah.
So Burgundy or Mendoza or Napa Valley,
So that comes from experimenting by therefore trying different wines from different regions. Number one.
So you might find, and often these regions have a signature grape. So the next step would be to think about grapes, but the first one is to think about region. So someone might like white wine, and they might like white wine from Sauternes, which is an area in France, in the Loire. And so most of the time when they order Sauternes, which is any wine made in that region, they kind of like more or less the taste of it. And then after a while, you think about vintages, because then you know which vintages you like and stuff. But that's perhaps after drinking a lot of wine.
Back up. So vintage is then, that would be when there is a great year for the harvest. Is that the right word?
Yeah, correct. It's exactly right. Because
they
only do one harvest a year, so they only have one vintage every year. So over time, people might think, oh yeah, I love Bordeaux or Claret, and I love the 2005 vintage. 2005 vintage happens to be a really great year too. And so then they would choose a region plus a vintage. And then they might say, well, within Bordeaux, there are loads of different sub-regions. And they might say, well, one of my favorite sub-regions is Pauillac, let's say. And then within the sub-region of Pauillac is my famous Chateau Mouton Rothschild, which I talked about. But, and then you drill into the whole way through. But
I'm loving this, because when, for example, you go out with a client and sometimes they're getting a cold sweat and I'm giving, you choose. I'm thinking, to me, that's a nightmare. So now it's going to be the region, the date with the vintage. Right, okay, so now I'm going to be starting to assure people that I'm talking about. So what next? How do we start to get into the taste?
So then you might ask, so if I was, let's say, asking you what you would like, I would say, okay, well, do you like red wine or white wine? Do you have a preference between the two?
I love a red wine.
Red wine, okay. And do you like it to be quite bold, or do you like it to be quite elegant? Do you like it to be spicy? So you can have all these kind of questions.
Fruity, Gregory. Is that an answer?
Fruity, yeah, it is a very good answer.
So like a red, I like it fruity.
Okay, like a fruity. And do you like it to be complex or simple? So do you like to have
I've got a clue. What do you mean?
No, so what I meant by, do you like the aromas and experience that you smell and taste?
I see what you mean. Yeah.
Do you like it to be complex?
Gosh, and it just like, so it hits you as it served into the glass. Is that what you mean? So I guess I like the aroma then.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a lot of different kind of, so complexity. And then do you like, the tannins? So this is like the kind of, the bitterness that you can feel around your mouth.
Yes.
Do you like it to be very bitter?
It starts to create like the aftertaste, the lingerer.
More or less, yes, exactly. Yeah. Good. Well, then perhaps in your situation, a Rhone wine would be a good choice.
I love it. Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, so you've armed me with some great weight here. It does sound like I know what I'm talking
or even
about.
Bordeaux, and we get good ones for you,
Love it. Thank you, Gregory.
Sure.
I'll never forget this. This is brilliant.
So next time you see
I'll keep watching this now because I'm going to, I've learned so much. But let's get back to you then in terms of the growth from you started it, you were starting to you're starting to convince people to jump ship to you from these more established businesses.
Yeah.
How did you then start to break the millions in terms of, millions turnover,
Yeah.
in terms of really starting to go to the next level?
Yeah, yeah. I must say it's the hardest thing at some point to convince someone who works in a very good or established company to come and work for you. I mean, it's not easy in the beginning, certainly when there's no one, there's not even an office, or there's a tiny office so that's not hard and easy. But your question was, how did we manage to?
Well,
break
I guess
through the
when did you, in terms of like the wheels really starting to turn, and all of a sudden you were starting to turn over in the millions?
Yeah.
What was therefore causing that to happen? Was it, as you were saying, you just
I have to think back when that sort of I think that the major breakthrough was right about when we started having our first 2 employees then, and that kind of really helped take on more business, passing on more decisions to other people who were then making decisions on wines to buy, and then I could focus on business development and then get people as well on board who weren't doing any commercial work, but just developing, the systems and how we operate as a company. And so, I think the major breakthrough was about when we started having, 3-4 employees as well. Because in the beginning it was just me and my co-founder. That was a major breakthrough. And I think we were definitely never scared to always make a decision for investment, which led us to continuously grow fast because we were always investing into growth.
Yeah, how big's the team now?
So now we're close to 20.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's been a big step up then from when it was just the 2 of you.
Yeah, no, it was very, I couldn't think of it back then. If I pictured myself now in the office with so many people and also people that...
Do you love it, Gregory?
Oh,
you know, you walk into the
love
office
it.
and you see that you've
I really
created, people that are bought into your dream, your mission. Well, I bet that feels pretty cool, right?
Yeah, it's very, very cool. Yeah. Also, I don't yet have a family, but also, people who have entire families and they're the only earner of the family, and then their job is what helps pay for the family, and they come with decisions about, difficulties at home and they share it or things like that, It kind of feels like you're looking after a little bit, and they're obviously looking after the business. I mean, thanks to them, we wouldn't be where we are. But there's something great in that, definitely.
In terms of you creating something that's creating life
it's creating jobs, and it's looking after people, building pensions for people and things like that. It's very cool. It's because when you start, you don't know anything about any of that, So I mean, the answer is, do I like it? And the answer is definitely yes.
Has the business been self-funded, or have you had to raise investment to go along?
Yeah, so in the beginning it was self-funded, and then over time I invited people to become shareholders and join in.
How did you find that experience, all of a sudden going from just you to having other people with maybe a stake in the business and therefore...
Well, I didn't want to.
No?
No, it was a very dear friend of mine, which I thank very much for having joined. He said, Greg, I like what you do. I want to invest in your company. I said, well, Jesus, I'm not looking for anyone to come and join. I
Really?
started only a few years ago. And he said, I'm sure it's going to go well. I said, well, I don't know. I don't know why you're saying that. He said, I've got all my confidence. I want to invest in your business. And I said, okay, but I don't know what is the value of the business. I'd never even thought about it. He's like, well, go back, go home, think about value, come back to me. This is how much I want to put in, and let me know. And so I did.
So it's a bit of on the back of a...
So it was literally, I told him I made this a very complex calculation, and which essentially was just me putting some things on the envelope, as you say. And then he joined. He was the first ever shareholder. And then from then on, I was starting to think about, this is great. More funds can come in to help invest more in the business and grow faster. And then, so over time, we took on more people. But he was the first ever person, and I thank him for it because he helped me think a little bit about raising funds in that way.
Yeah, okay. Let's move to technology, because obviously businesses, when they start at a point where they're about to rapidly scale, which it feels like you are knocking on the door now of rapid growth. Are there any platforms? Is there anything that you've done to really kind of utilise technology to therefore start to help you get your sights on the next level with the business?
Yeah, I mean, we have a digital presence, and we invest in IT heavily, more than our competitors, definitely. And so as such, we use technology to our advantage, both internally, but also front end through an e-commerce platform for our clients. But what we're currently working on, it's going to take us a year, is really the next big step. So it's kind of go from where we're now to having 100 times more customers and having a platform that will allow us to accommodate such scale and such growth without having to always grow the team, even though, of course, we're going to have to grow the team. But we firmly believe that our industry, which is very traditional and is still done in a very traditional way, has there's an opportunity for someone to potentially.
So you're building that now, are you?
Yeah, we're working on building that now. We started the process a few months ago, and yeah, it's in full swing. So we have our
Really?
Tuesday evening sessions where we stay late, and that's our evening that we really get together and push hard. And
Do you crack open a bottle of vino to have those
yeah,
Tuesday sessions?
it doesn't help the session, but we tend to do that. Yes.
So this is going to enable you, you say, to take on hundreds more customers. Is that correct?
Yeah. So
this is
100 times more in sorry. It's 100 times more in size.
Okay.
So it's thousands and thousands of customers. Millions of customers actually. If let's say the whole plan goes through, but it would be becoming 100 times bigger in size as we currently are. Yeah.
Wow, how does that feel, Gregory? When you go back to again saying at the beginning,
Well, I mean,
said so humbly at the beginning, 2 founders. It's about staying the course of the next 12 months.
Yeah.
I mean, what is it like to hear yourself saying this? That you're now talking about taking the business 100 times.
Yeah, global and really, really big. I guess it's the passion for the work too. It's not necessarily driven by revenue and EBITDA. It's just driven by also seeing an opportunity and being like, well, let's work really hard on trying to make that opportunity a success.
Yeah.
And you don't always have it right, but I'm hungry enough and passionate enough to be like, yeah, I'm willing to work hard, very, very hard again, evenings, weekends, everything, to try to materialize this vision.
Yeah.
And I think it's the right thing to do too. And also for my colleagues, it's the right thing for them to be part of, because if it is a success, it's going to be a success for everyone. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, if I listen to myself now, I'm like, it's a good decision, go for it.
Gregory, what is it that drives you? You seem to me to be someone who is very much enjoying what they're doing, but there's a destination, there's an end goal that you want to go towards, which is obviously, building this into a very successful business that enables you to do your passion.
Yeah.
Which is but in terms of the drive, what is it that drives you? Where's that come from? Can you think back to in your earlier life where that maybe came from? Is this something that you developed later in life?
I like to work. I think work for me is an important part of my life.
Is
I
it?
think I take work very seriously. I think it's very cool to be good at something. I think I enjoy it. I think it's nice to be very good at something. I think it helps you in your life. You also if you're very good at something, normally what happens is you also have to make more money too, which can also help in life, of course. But it's not definitely not money driven or something. It's just more, I just genuinely really enjoy building something cool with other smart people who like to build something. And of course there has to be a commercial angle of it, because you can't just build stuff that no one needs, right? So you have to build stuff that people need. But yeah, the drive just comes from enjoying building nice things with smart people and working with great people on building something great. And also nice for the customers to know that you build something that they really enjoy, and they give you feedback to say, oh wow, I've been buying wine for years, but the way that you guys have done it is just so much better than anyone else. Like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
it's nice to
makes
hear
you feel great.
that our clients enjoy it. Yeah.
You said that you started with a co-founder, but that person is no longer involved in the business. I mean, if we think about today, the interviews we've been doing with lots of co-founders, and you can see that the dynamic with the co-founders is so important. What is it like? What is it like when the buck stops completely with you, and all of a sudden you are the person that's running the business? How have you found that?
Yeah, that's definitely challenging. And as a consequence of there's a bit of loneliness in that world, right? Because you're always going to be the person having to make difficult decisions or non-difficult decisions, but not having someone to tell you no. People can give you advice, but if no one's really there to equally tell you no, then yeah, I suppose in that way it can be a bit lonely and difficult. But as a consequence, because I did find it difficult at times, I built a board of directors. And this is something new that we didn't have before, and it was a little bit after the company and myself, we bought my co-founder, old co-founder out. I was in that situation which you just described, which is absolutely fair. And we decided to build a board of directors of people who then help with decision making.
So that has enabled you to, I guess, to share the journey.
Yeah.
By building
Yeah, well,
those
I mean, I
people
share
around
the journey with, we have a
Everybody,
management team
yeah,
and
yeah.
with our colleagues, but share some of those difficult decisions, yes. And have people who can truly give their opinion, because sometimes within an organization, someone who works for you or works for the company might not give you that honest feedback that perhaps a board can give you.
Yeah. You grew up in France.
Yeah.
You're Dutch.
Yeah.
How old were you when you came to these shores, to Britain?
22.
22.
Yeah.
How have you found the experience of building? I mean, so did you come straight to London?
Yes, straight to London.
Have
yeah.
you found the experience of building a business in London? I'm interested to see how we Brits, what it's like to build a business in Britain.
So I haven't built a business in outside of England, so I wouldn't be able to compare it in that way.
Okay, yeah, understand.
But this country definitely is leading the world in terms of making it easy for people
Really?
to start a business. There are also definitely resources out there to help you on your journey. And it's very smartly built, I think. The whole idea of incentivizing also staff to be part of a company through an employee share scheme, all these kind of really smart things that you have here are readily available, and it's not too expensive legally to set up a company or set up things to help the business from a legal perspective. So I would say this country is phenomenal for building a business
Really?
and scaling it. And also the credibility of having a London-based business is respected worldwide, wherever you go. So Asia, which is an important region for us, the US is an important region for us. Whenever you say you're from London, obviously the language is there, and people know London, they know England. So it's not only London, sorry, it's obviously the country itself. But yeah,
Glad you said that. I
yeah.
want our Scottish colleagues to feel.
Yeah. No, I was just, but phenomenal.
Well said, Gregory.
I wouldn't have wanted to do it anywhere else than here. Actually.
That leads nicely onto what you were saying about, you've got Asian markets, the US markets, etc. I mean, that in itself is something that so many entrepreneurs want to start to do. They start with a local market and then they start to expand internationally. Have you found that experience of growing internationally? What nuggets can you give us in terms of how to do it well?
Well, I don't know if I can give advice on how to do it well.
I
can share how we do it. But,
exactly, but I mean, how you achieve it, how you start to do that.
Yeah. These are hard questions. No, it's a very, very good question. How you start to develop, for example, the Asian market. I think it starts by, for example, starting to get some customers, and then over time, you might get on very well with one particular customer, and then you meet them, you greet them, and you find out a partner or representative.
Okay.
And then that person gives you a little bit an idea of the local culture, how business is done there. And you need to have a local partner, someone that is not just a customer, but someone who just becomes almost a partner, because they will then give you some insight as to maybe, who to speak to, how to speak to people. If you want to open up a company, they can help you with it. They might have relationships. They will give you all the experience they will have encountered through their information they would have gathered from their network of people who've been there maybe for decades and centuries. So that would be my advice, was definitely not to try to duplicate whatever you do in your current location and try to do exactly the same somewhere else.
Because it's completely different, right?
Yeah, because business might be done a different way. People might like different products. And so having a local partner would definitely be always how I would do it.
Yeah.
And so far, for me, it has worked.
And how are you finding it in the big US of A?
So the big USA, I love it. I was there actually in May.
Whereabouts?
In LA and San Francisco. I was there in California. Meeting a local partner and talking about potentially opening shop there and expanding into the US. So it's something we're working on quite actively. But I love it in the US. The mind frame that they have and the sympathy they have for entrepreneurs there is really, really great, because they all think a little bit like entrepreneurs, and here can be sometimes a bit corporate how people think, whereas there it's really all about starting businesses, financing businesses, growing businesses. It's very much of a business mindset here too, but over there I think even more. Well,
does it come to, and thank you for raising this point, because I find that fascinating. It feels to me that in America the overarching emotion of it is that it's the way that people perceive failure.
Yeah.
Don't worry. You as someone said, you just haven't succeeded yet if you've had failures, and it feels to me that seems to what drives the American mentality, which is really go for it, because
it's okay
sort
to
of get rid of the fear of failure.
Yeah.
Is that basically how you're seeing it?
Yeah, I think it's spot on. It's definitely the mindset there. It's okay to fail. Everyone fails. It's not about failing. It's about not trying. You fail if you don't try. If you fail, it's okay. It happens. Just get on with it and continue.
Yeah. So if we think about where the business is going then over the next few years, and we start to think about just the incredible growth that you're going to be going through as part of that, what is it that excites you most about what your business could achieve over the next 3 to 5, 10 years, whatever game you're playing? What is it that's keeping you awake from night, with excitement, anticipation, or fear? I don't know. Or fear of challenges, I don't know.
All of it, really. But I mean, I think sometimes, as much as we all have 3 to 5 year plans, sometimes, we do have a common 3 to 5 year plan. Sometimes you just think about the next, 2 weeks or 1 month and the excitement of what's going to happen in that 2 weeks or 1 month, etc. But if I really think about the next 3 to 5 years, it's what we're working on now. That if that works, then the opportunities are so big and wild that. Yeah, that will be just phenomenal to be part of that, and obviously to be leading that, and hopefully to be leading that. But that would definitely be I guess next 3 to 5 years, if that materializes itself, and I know it's going to be finished somewhere next summer, to see how the world will react to it. Let's say.
I can't wait to see this. This sounds pretty epic. So if you look at the split of your customers, you have people that buy on an individual basis, or people that are buying for example, their extensive portfolios. What is the kind of makeup of your customers from that point of view?
Yes, it started off mostly with people who just want to invest in wine and collect wine, and then over time, we have many more people who just buy wine for consumption and for collecting. And now we're kind of, what we're working on is putting them really together, so that it doesn't matter for what purpose you buy wine, you buy it in the same kind of way. And so to answer the question, I think, it's mostly 50-50 perhaps at present. It's the group of people who might buy for investing purposes or buying for, they don't know yet if they're going to drink it, maybe they'll sell it, but they buy the wines young because they shouldn't drink them yet when you buy them young. Those people who just buy wines for getting them delivered to their home, so the retail side of it. So I think 50-50 might be a fair way of looking at it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess final question, Gregory. What would you say if you think about from when you started, 10 years ago you started?
Yeah.
Actually, I'll tell a lie. I've got another question after this. I'm sorry. I've just thought of something that I really like to finish by asking you. But if you think of the last 10 years, what has been the best thing? What has been the worst thing about being an entrepreneur?
Good question. I mean, the best thing is to be free in your decisions.
Freedom.
Not freedom in terms of, and people might, and I must say it's a really good point. It's a point I'd like to bring across. It's not free in the sense of you don't have a boss and you don't have to report or something. Or that you work less. That's definitely not true. It's the freedom of decision making that whatever you can shape the future of your business in a much more free way than if you weren't, let's say, leading it. So I think that's definitely, as an entrepreneur, what I like the most is, if I would like us to go to the US, we can go to the US. That's what I meant by freedom. I
see what you mean.
The decision making can be.
It's on you. Yeah,
it can be so
on your team.
Yeah. And I like that because I like to go for my instinct and my choices and things like that. That's what I like the most. But what I like the least is what the responsibility that comes with it, in the sense that. I'm not, let's say, I'm still young, and sometimes there are a lot of decisions, a lot of problems, a lot of things that you have to deal with, which you can bring home sometimes, and when you're young, you don't really learn to separate maybe your work and your home life, and therefore I bring it home. My fiance is like, oh, here you go, I got to listen to one of those stories from Greg again about his problems, and then, and I like that the least. It's and it's okay, it comes with, it's part of the job. But you asked me what I like the least is the fact that. You don't yet know how to separate perhaps these problems and leave them in the office, and you kind of tend to bring them home or think them about at night, and you shouldn't do that. Yeah. But that's what I like the least.
Yeah. So you're Gregory, you're still obviously young, and if we think about the evolution of a founder, and then all of a sudden as the business gets bigger, becoming a CEO, do you see yourself being the CEO until the end? Do you think there may be a time when the company might outgrow you? Have you thought that far?
I think I would definitely, if the company outgrew me or I was taking wrong decisions and I could tell that I was taking wrong decisions, I would have no issues at all stepping down. But also, I definitely would like to start other businesses again. So I'd like to, and I have wild ideas already, but...
really? You're starting to get
No, ideas. But I always have ideas, about stuff which I don't work on because I don't have time for anything else other than wine. But I would definitely enjoy building at least one more, if not two other businesses.
Really?
Yeah, I would very much like it.
Okay, so you then graduate to the serial entrepreneur category.
We'll try.
Well, Gregory, It's been absolutely lovely talking to you. It's so exciting to see where this business is going. I really can't wait to see this. When will we get to, can you say when we'll start to get to see this platform that you're building?
Yeah, so around Q2 2023
Okay.
is the end of it, is when we're going to go live and launch all of it.
Brilliant.
Well, we're hoping to, but yeah, that's when we will tell more about it.
Fantastic. Well, listen, very best of luck. Very proud to have you in our list. It's a great business. You're clearly, you know, someone who's loving what they're doing. And thank you for coming here today and wish you all the very best of success.
Thank you so much for inviting.
Cheers, Gregory.
Thanks so much.